Hi everyone, welcome to another video. So I am working on my eyeshadow palette videos, but as you can see I had to stop filming for a couple days because I got another cold sore. I do seem to get them way more often these days, which is really frustrating, and when they're really bad I obviously can't film. I don't know why I'm getting cold sores so often. It's really annoying, and they hurt really bad too, but oh well. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going to use the LANEIGE Cream Skin Mist. I've been really enjoying using this as my primer lately, just like especially now that it's gotten so cold. And I just use my wet sponge, kind of let it to spread what I sprayed on my skin, just spread it all around my face. And then I'm going to use my Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Eye Base. I am also going to put on a lip balm, and I'm going to use some kind of like lip mask thing so that I'm not putting the applicator directly on my lips. So I'm going to use my DASIQUE Fruity Lip Jam in the shade 04. This does have a slight tint to it, so I'm probably going to continue to use something similar for like my final look. Like I'm going to use something that's like kind of more like a lip mask, just so that I can continue to keep my lips nice and moisturized. So that's probably what I'm going to end up continuing to do. So as you can see, it has a little bit of a red tint. It is really pretty. I kind of do want more of the shades, but I mean, how many more lip masks does one person need? But I do like that these tinted lip masks are super trendy in Korea right now. I feel like they are really pretty, and I haven't really seen any equivalents in America aside from maybe like the Auric one, which comes in like only 2 shades. And I know that NATASHA has limited edition ones they release every year, but they're limited, so like you can't get your hand on them once they're gone. I missed Peony, I think last year or the year before, and I still really regret it. I am trying to get back into using silicone primers more frequently. I was binge watching Marlene Estelle because I actually haven't really watched that many of her videos, so I was binge watching her the other day, and she was talking a lot about silicones and setting a barrier between your skin and your foundation, and I was like, I honestly haven't used my Pat McGrath primer in so long. It used to be the only primer that I would use, especially during the summer, and I went through 2 bottles of it. So this is my 3rd bottle, and the 3rd bottle's just been hanging out for a while now because I just kind of haven't used it. That maybe I should start using it again and see if I can remember how it used to look on me. Maybe I'll start using it again. And then for foundation, I'm not so sure what I want to go for. I really am kind of feeling the urge to do some kind of like foundation revamp, but I know it would be really dumb to do that. But I just have like that urge to do that, you know? I think I'll go for the Skin Caring Glow foundation today. I do really like this one, and I have gotten quite a bit of use out of it. Oh, I just realized I forgot under eye corrector. Hold on, I haven't gotten too far in yet. If you guys have ever, if you've watched even like 1 or 2 of my videos, you'll probably notice I pretty much never use liquid concealer. Because of that, I much rather would use a lighter foundation, especially if it matches my undertone better than the other ones in the line, and then I will just use my favorite contour shades to add dimension back in on the edges of my face. I'm using the Rare Beauty Under Eye Brightener today. I was watching, one of the videos I was binge watching when I was watching through all of Marlena's videos was how to make bad makeup products work for you, and she did mention if a foundation is too light or too dark, and she actually did bring up that putting on foundation that's too light and then contouring as opposed to doing a giant triangle of concealer is just as valid of an application method, and I was like, I feel validated. Okay, so the next thing I got is I did actually get a replacement for my JX Professional Triple Concealer. They have it in a new shade, the Triple Concealer Bright. So here's the one that I've used and abused. And as you can see, you know, I don't wear makeup every single day of the week. I only wear makeup maybe like 3 to 4 times a week. So because of that, obviously this concealer, as you can see, would last you a lifetime and then some. So if you're wearing makeup every single day, it will still last you a really long time, and it has stayed creamy and usable all this time too. So this is what I've been using. And as you can see, the newer version has much brighter shades. So the brightest shade in this actually would like look so white on me, so that'll definitely be good for like if I need to highlight. But definitely I like how I can use all 3 of these shades, versus in this one you can tell I pretty much only used the lighter 2 one, and even then you can see one shade has significantly more use than the other. So anyways, I'm not gonna open this just yet. I do want to get a little bit more mileage out of this. So I'm going to go in with the My Aura 171. You can actually, I found this on Amazon and I saw it get popularized by a lot of Korean YouTubers. Specifically, instead of for lips, I saw it getting really popular for under eye concealer. So I bought it and it was actually not even that expensive and it's actually really good. So that's why I don't use my Clinique, is just because of the fact that this is really, really good. I think I didn't hydrate my under eyes enough today. I feel like my under eyes feel a little bit dry. I just feel like for some reason the focus sensor on this camera is off to the point where my face is in focus but also not really. Like it's like a patchwork of in focus, out of focus, and it's causing quality issues in the video. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. It's just that there are just overall glitches in the fact that it cannot seem to focus completely. I'm going to use my D'Alba setting spray. I'm going to take a break from the Makeup by Mario bronzing balm because I've been using that non-stop in my quest to figure out what my shade is. But I kind of want to take a short little break from using it. I'm going to use my NARS Laguna bronzer, which I really, really enjoy. I think taking a short, tiny little break will help me decide if I like using something I know I like and then using the Makeup by Mario later. I think will really help with giving me a reference point for what I like. The possibility of keeping both is still very much present. The only thing stopping me is just that I don't want to let my sister down. I told her she could have the one I didn't want, and I don't want to have to tell her, oh, I like both, because then she's gonna be sad. And I mean, if she doesn't like it, she'll just give it right back to me. So I need to make my decision, but I think today I'll just use this because this is one of my favorite cream bronzers in my collection. The only thing I don't like about it is the smell. It smells so obnoxiously beachy because I do not like beaches. I'm using my SUQQU eye primer today. Okay, so I had to completely change lenses. I don't know what's going on, but my camera is having some serious focusing issues. So for the time being, I went back to the kit lens that came with the camera body, and it is a very, very short lens that cannot zoom in very far. So because of that, I am now much more zoomed out. And so my face shape might also look different because focal length is great to deal with. I am beyond upset at this stupid camera and all of its problems. But anyways, so I did end up just finishing my eyebrows off camera, and I added some face powder off camera, and now I'm back and I'm gonna start the eyes. So just very quickly, I did the Too Faced brow detailer. I used my Glossier brow flick, and then for my setting powder, I used my Kogan Do brightening moisture powder in Brightening Beige. Cameras are not supposed to last this short, lenses are not supposed to last this short, and I just feel like I cannot, like it's just like my life has just kind of been, it's like somebody just thinks it's really funny to make sure everything in my life just goes completely wrong at all given times. What I had been kind of tossing around in my head for a little bit now was I had been thinking of doing a look that is kind of inspired by the ODENS I Knew Christmas palettes. I'm not getting either of them, not really into the light tones, they're so light, and then I heard a bunch of like issues about the holographic shades, so I don't know, but I do have the GLAMSHOP Holos, which I think are like way better, I'll be honest. So I'm going to do a look using this Holo shadow up here in the top left. This is probably going to be the most similar to the one in the palette. If you guys want to get a really good Holo single shadow, then I do highly recommend the one from GLAMSHOP. It in and of itself is actually surprisingly inexpensive for a Holo shadow, but if you live in the US, it is going to be very expensive. Be prepared to get kicked in the butt by shipping. However, it is worth it. So yeah, it's the Snow Dream palette, so I will go for something kind of similar. I will use the Muse palette today for my mattes and for any relevant shimmers. So I'm going to start off with Water Lily, which is there's not really a comparable shade in Snow Dream to this palette, but I'm going to start off with this just as kind of a base shade of some kind. And then I will go in with Filigree, which looks to me to be virtually identical to the green shade in Snow Dream. And then I'll use the GLAMSHOP and I'll create just like a green look that has a hollow accent, I guess is what we'll go for. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good so far, so I'm gonna go into Filigree, and I'm just basically, Water Lily is kind of like the transition shade, and then Filigree is gonna be the main shade. And I'm just going to use like a light layer at first. And then I need to switch brushes. So I'm just using a Sigma packing brush to add a little bit more filigree, so you can see it's definitely looking a little bit darker now. Filigree is not a very dark green though. The biggest reason that I'm not buying those Oden's eye palettes, it's just because they don't go dark. Snowdream, the darkest shade is this dark warm chocolate brown. That's it. That's the only dark shade in there, so why? What would I do with that? It's a good thing anyways, since my Black Friday budget is so little right now and I have to save up for a camera that I'm not tempted. And I'm also going to go ahead and use filigree on the lower lash line. You can see just how easily the shade blends. I do really like how Cosmic Brush's mattes blend. One of the shades in Snowdream looks to be this kind of pastel mint shade. No, I'm gonna have to stand up. Sorry, I know this video is a total mess. So the mint shade, it looks to be a pretty green leaning mint and it's very desaturated, and so I'm going to use Brisk from the Pastel palette here, and this mint has a teeny tiny bit more blue in it than the one in the Oden's Eye palette based on the photos. Obviously I don't have the palette, I'm not going to know how accurate the photos are, but I'm just going to use this shade and it'll be close enough. As a standalone palette, the NATASHA DENONA Pastel palette is definitely not gonna do it for me because it's all pastels and I generally do need a little bit more to my look than just that. But this is an excellent just pastel compendium to hold on to. Now, owning this and still wanting Blend Bunny, Sugar and Grunge, and Sickly Sweet and stuff, definitely kind of dumb. It's not about making sure I have all the colors, it's more about just really loving different brands and formulas and loving how different color combinations jog my creativity. So I don't really care about color overlap in my collection. If I did, my collection would definitely be much smaller. But yeah, I am so sorry that I cannot zoom in like I usually do for my eyeshadow. I love that I usually can, but like I don't know what's going on. I'll have to do more investigating. It's been such a waste of my time and energy as well. So now I want to put on the holographic shadow. Now, warning about GLAMSHOP. You need glitter glue is non-negotiable if you're going to use a GLAMSHOP holo. They are very softly pressed. Now, that being said, I had no problem with it shipping to me. It shipped to me completely intact. There were no issues there, but it's just that when you're actually, you know, using it, you really are going to need to use some kind of glitter adhesive. It's just not an option to not use one. So if you're not into using glitter glue, then honestly holographics in general may not be for you because most holographics are going to be the same way. So I'm going to take my NYX glitter glue and I'm just going to use my finger to tap a very thin layer across my entire eyelid where I want this holographic to be. There are other indie brands, like I know Bella Beauté Bar, Unearthly Cosmetics, and now Divina Cosmetics, as well as also the infamous Fiorine Epoxy. Those are all indie alternatives. Also Sugar Drizzle Polish recently released one. They all have their own tacky bases. This one is kind of the most accessible, easiest to get. So this holo shade that I'm using, it is called Fancy Holo. I don't rub my finger in the pan, it's really loosely pressed. I take my finger and I just dip it into the pan until I get this nice even coating on my finger. So now I'm just going to take my finger and tap 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 where I had my glitter glue. But yeah, you can see that this shade is this is just your basic silver holo, so it's gonna look, this is going to basically be a dead-on exact identical shade to the one in the Oden's Eye palette in my personal opinion. You see, it's just a basic shimmer holo, but I think this is going to be way better. It's so much easier to use. The holo is so much more visible. And this eyeshadow might be like kind of like loosely pressed and a little bit thick, but it doesn't have actual thick flakiness to it. The particle, the mica, the holo, it's all super fine. So aside from the thickness of the glitter glue plus the eyeshadow, that might, you know, obviously you might feel that. The actual individual particles of the eyeshadow themselves, you don't feel. And the other thing I really like about GLAMSHOP's shadows that are the holo shadows, which I have this problem with other holo shadows that I've tried, but I never have this problem with GLAMSHOP, is that as I blend it out and disperse it, I'm not getting any kind of dark cast or muddiness. The holo is still visible even as it gets dispersed. I'm going to go into the shade Muse for the lower lash line. This is the pinky shade in this palette. I really like using this on my lower lash line. There's a metallic sage slash mint green that to me feels super similar to Misty from this palette here. So I'm going to use a little bit of this shade just to like make sure that I have some continuity into the greens. I do believe that Perfect World collaboration will be in this sale. I'm not sure. Okay, so you can see I just kind of wanted to get the holo to transition into the green a little bit better, so that's why I used that shade there. And I put the glitter glue pretty much all over my eyelids, so Misty is benefiting from the outskirts of the glitter glue for sure. The last time I used this palette, when I was using it without glitter glue, the shimmer shades were really underperforming, but on top of glitter glue they look a little bit better. But I just feel like Oden's Eye, either I've seen better now and so Oden's Eye just doesn't impress me as much, or Oden's Eye has gone downhill. Either one of them, I don't know what's happened, but I do not really like them as much as I used to, I'll be honest. And then lastly, I need to use something on the inner corner. I think I'm gonna maybe try using mermaid scales because from the Lauren May, the Sea Talk palette, because I see what looks to be some kind of bright, vivid blue slash turquoise shimmer shade in Snow Dream. So I think using mermaid scales will get me a very similar effect. Now there is no glitter glue on my inner corner, so hopefully this is okay. Ugh, I remember now, Mermaid Scales was such a disappointing shade. It's so chalky. That's okay. It looks, I mean, it in the context of the look, it doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I remember just not really liking this Perfect World collaboration. The quality seemed so hit and miss, and other people's swatches seemed a lot better than my performance experience ended up being. So my current makeup conspiracy theory is that Oden's Eye, it's not that their formula's gone downhill, it's that their quality control has gone downhill. As the demand rises, they have to make more stock, and they're just not quality controlling like they used to. I think I just was on the unlucky end of things and I got some pretty terrible palettes because like I'll see other people use this exact same palette and they do not have the same experience that I did. So especially when I saw just how different of an experience people were having with their singles collection from like last year or something, definitely am leaning more towards that Oden's Eye just doesn't even have quality control anymore as opposed to anything else, which is a bummer. I see that they have like these matte kind of soft yellow oranges, so I'm going to hunt for something similar. I'm going to use the original Hela palette. This is actually not available anymore. I will use the top shade up here, Rebirth. This shade I think very, very similar to what we've been seeing in Snow Dream. It's like Oden's Eye does palettes that are all kind of chaotically laid out, but they're all chaotically laid out the same way, and so they always end up it's almost as they're just like constantly like duping themselves on accident, I guess. I might mix in a little bit of Wolf too, just so that I can get it a little bit more saturated. And I will probably have to go back in with more of that Holo shade because I'm kind of covering it up on accident a little bit. So yeah, just a little injection of color up there. I think that definitely really helped with kind of making the look feel more complete. And then I'm going to this time take a brush and I'm just going to go into a little bit of that Holo shade at a time and slowly kind of try and transition the shade up. You can see with a brush you can kind of create like a more textured, clumpier look because it will like kind of like apply in globs, versus a finger you get a much more diffused look. Okay, so I am going to call this look done, kind of like doing something similar to the vibes of the Oden's Eye Snow Dream palette. I think we got pretty close, like obviously nothing super identical, but in terms of like there being like almost no depth to anything, it definitely looks kind of similar. But again, I'm not going to be getting the Oden's Eye new Christmas palettes. I'm going to go ahead and go off camera to do my lashes and then I'll be back to finish off this face of makeup. Okay, so my camera crashed and took with it my blush and my highlighter, which, I mean, joke's on me because I forgot to press the stop button. It's just so hard for me to remember to constantly have to check the iPad every 2 seconds to press the stop button and record again. But it's fine. I didn't do anything particularly notable for my blush and highlighter this time aside from using some really overpriced products, so I'll just quickly tell you what I used. So I used the SUQQU Apple Blossom highlighter. This is from the Wild Meadows collection. If you wanted to buy from this Chantecaille Wild Meadows collection, like you wanted one of the blushes, get Apple Blossom. The other one is absolute trash. I tested both of them in store. This one's really pretty. You can see it's a nice pretty blush, slightly glowy. Kind of reminds me of the Clinique Cheek Pops in consistency, but it's a little bit more, it comes off onto the brush a little bit more easily, so the pigmentation's better and it blends, and it does blend better. But the other one was like no pigment, didn't show up, glittery, ugly. Like I didn't understand how those both could have been in the same collection. I do not know how Chantecaille greenlit both of those. So Apple Blossom's good, the other one's like absolute trash. And then the highlighter that I used, the last day of the sale, I was trying so hard to resist. I even kicked it out of my cart for my first initial purchase because I was trying to be good and not buy stupid things. But the last day of the sale, I just broke and it was not happening. So I used the Tom Ford Rose Iris-A for my cheeks, but it is actually a really rare cool pink highlighter that I actually really like. Generally speaking, cool pink highlighters, especially when they have golden reflex or golden shifts to them, I don't like them. So I don't even have one in my collection. The only cool pink highlighter I have that I like is the Maybelline one, and that one is like super metallic, so I don't use it like all the time. But this one actually has a really nice undertone to it, such that it's a cool pink and there's a little bit of gold reflect in it, but I actually really like how it looks. So now I'm actually kind of happy that I have it, but I still would like to remind you you the viewer, that this is a Tom Ford highlighter and it's a total waste of money. Like, just on the virtue of being Tom Ford makeup, you shouldn't spend that much money on this unless you know what you're getting yourself into. So I really like it, and I actually surprised myself with how much I like it, but it's Tom Ford. Questionable decisions were being made that day. The only thing from Tom Ford that is worth it are the creme color quads. Those are literally sorcery. But everything else from Tom Ford is like, if you want it, sure, but you know, kind of a situation. So anyways, and then I was saying I need to move on to my lips, and I was just thinking to myself, I don't actually know if I can use the 2/4 lip changers with this look, but I'm going to anyways because I'm stubborn. So these are the 2/4 lip changers. You can see it has a slanted top, and as you can see, it is a push-up. So you cannot roll these back down or anything, which is very similar to a lot of gloss balms on the market, that they click up and you cannot roll them down. There is a cool little diagonal cut in the packaging at the bottom as well, so it just overall gives off the impression of being really cool, very hip, trendy kind of packaging, and definitely really unique. So like in my lip collection, I definitely will recognize what these are in my drawer. Like I'll be able to like see them and I'll like, oh yeah, that's my 2/4 lip changers. The other thing I got from them is their lip liner. This is also a push-up lip liner, so this also can't be rolled back down, and this was being marketed as being really good at correcting hyperpigmentation around the mouth. You know, especially in Asia, it's common for like this part around the mouth to tan a little bit more than the rest. For me, like my eyelids and around my mouth are much more prone to getting hyperpigmented, and there's nothing wrong with that. So products like these are just, you know, they're also marketed as being able to cover that up. So I'm gonna use this today. This is in the shade, it's called the 2/4 Sculpt Lip Changer, and it's in the shade Salmon. The other thing about this is that here you can see it has a rectangular shape to it, so a very interesting shape. It is beveled, but obviously with use, I don't know how long it's gonna stay beveled. But you can see I'm clicking it up, so I'm just going to click up a little bit. Honestly, I probably just clicked up too much, and I'm just going to use this to line my lips. We'll see if this is a good lip liner. I'm curious now. You know, it looked really dark in the videos. It looked like a darker salmon, but actually now that I'm looking at it, it is actually quite light. So this is definitely not going to be a lip liner I can use to like really like do an overlined effect, because it's, as you can see, it is barely darker than the color of my skin. I think you can also tell how I'm running it over the edge of my lips. The hyperpigmentation around my mouth is disappearing. The shape is quite nice actually. I'm not going to be able to use it all the way around my lower lip because of the scabbing and stuff, so I'll just avoid that part. Okay, this is a really interesting color. I thought maybe it would be like a color I already have, but it's definitely not. You can see all that correction. This might be something that I like stack under another lip liner. I'm not sure yet. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take more of my DASIQUE Fruity Lip Jam in the shade 04. I'm going to put another layer on because the layer I have is like pretty much gone. So as you can see, it has a really pretty red tint to it, so that's why I'm using it. And I'm kind of just like letting it gradate out naturally. And then I'm going to go, I think I'm gonna not use New Black today, which is the shade I definitely am the most excited about, but I really want to use that all over my lips when my lips heal. So I'm gonna use New Black Cherry, and you just want to have a little bit up at a time, so I'm just gonna have this much up. Definitely a very soft product, as I expected. But it's not like crushing and melting in an instant. Like it's not like as messy as the M Cosmetics ones. Those were like super messy. So it is soft, but it's not like disintegrating. I still wouldn't recommend you keep this in like a hot car though. Ooh, I like this color. So you can definitely see that it is a very sheer product. It is not going to completely cover up my lips, but you can see how it's like almost like it's adjusting the tone of my lips. It has a very mild, cooling, minty effect because I know that these do have like the weeniest, teeniest bit of plumping. But generally speaking in Korea, when it comes to lip products that plump, unless it's like explicitly some novelty item that's meant to be as painful as possible, most Korean lip products don't really go for like Too-Faced plumping levels of pain. So it's like cooling and minty and refreshing, and it's not like tingling or anything like that. This is kind of a little bit too much for me. Like it burns my lips a little bit, and this is not even that plumping, so you can see that my tolerance threshold for that kind of stuff is like 0, which is why all of the sudden plumping lip products being released in America, I'm just like, yep, my money is saved. I'm not even gonna bother. So this one has a mild amount of mintiness, but it's absolutely nothing bad or notable. Kind of sticky, but you can see it forms this really pretty film over my lips. Okay, well, this has a lot of promise. I'm definitely really looking forward to using the black, but I'm gonna go ahead and wait for my lip to fully heal over before I do that. I'm really hoping that the New Black is similar to that Isamaya lipstick balm, because I feel like I still cannot seem to find one that's similar to that, and I borderline am on the cusp of just buying that one, but I also don't necessarily want to have to stare at that thing every time I use it. I'm not always in the mood for acting like a 14-year-old, but this is gonna be my finished look. I'm just gonna leave my hair up for now because my hair is like super frizzy. As you can see, my bangs are finally at an acceptable level, so I don't feel like I have to like cover them up with anything. They're still definitely too short, but they'll come back in due time. So with that being said, this is gonna be everything. I am so sorry for all of the production problems in this particular video, but I hope you guys found this look to be interesting. I really like it. If you guys watched this video all the way to the end, thank you so much, and thank you guys as always for being so understanding of all of the problems that I can't seem to get out of my life. But yeah, until the next one, take care. If you have any questions about any of the products I used today, let me know, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.